class. We're about to start lesson 3 of chapter 3 for this particular assignment. Okay, lesson 3 states using a percent formula. Now, what I'm going to do, and I'll admit, I'm not going to show you how the book teaches the way how to do the percent formula, because we are eventually going to get to algebra. So what I want to do is show you how to do these problems the algebraic way. And I think that would make it a lot easier as we transition more towards algebra. So we look here. It says practice 3-1A. It says solve. You may use a calculator for questions 9 through 16. So number 1, it says what is 20% of $25? So we have what is 20% of $25? So let me show you how this works. The word what, we don't know what that is. That's X. The word is means equal. 20%, we will rewrite that as a decimal. 20% rewritten as a decimal is 0.20. Now, I showed you all in class how to change a percent to a decimal, but I will go back over that in just a second. Of means multiplication. And then the $25 is just the $25. Okay, now we have X is equal to 0.20 times $25. Now all we have to do is multiply, and then we will have what X is equal to. So we could go off to the side and take 25 times 0.20. Now remember, when you learn multiplying decimals, I told you to get rid of the decimal and just do regular multiplication. 0 times 5 is 0, 0 times 2 is 0. Bring a 0 here. 2 times 5 is 10. Bring down your 0, carry your 1. 2 times 2 is 4, plus 1 is 5. And then we don't have to multiply this other 0 here. So this would give us 500 when we add everything. But we look at how many digits we have behind the decimal. We have 2. So this answer here would be just 5. So X would be equal to $5. Okay, now we move on to problem number 2. Problem number 2, it says find 90% of 200. Now, I'm not going to write out every last sentence, but I'm doing this to give you a context on how to solve these problems. The word find is basically X equals, because we do not know what we are looking for. It just says find. So that's X equal. Now, 90% will be written as 0.90 of its multiplication, and 200 is just 200. So X is equal to, we'll take 200 times 0.90. We'll get rid of this decimal. 0 times 200 will give us our 3 zeros. Add a 0 here. 9 times 0 is 0. 9 times 0 is 0. And 9 times 2 is 18. So we have 0, 0, 0, 8, 1. So we look here, we add 2 digits behind the decimal. So then that will give us 180. We don't have to put the .00. So X is equal to 180. All right, now we look at problem number 3. It says, what is 35% of 400? Now, I'm not going to write this out, the definition. Well, I'll do it one more time. It says, what is 35% of 400? So what is X? Is equal. 35% we rewrite as a decimal is 0.35. Of means multiplication, and 400 is just 400. So now we will have to multiply 400 times 0.35. So 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 0 is 0, 5 times 4 is 20. We'll add our 0 here. 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 0 is 0, 3 times 4 is 12. Now we add this 0, 0, 0, 4, 1. We add 2 digits behind the decimal, so it'll be 140. So x is equal to 140. Okay, now that took care of the first 3 problems. Now the fourth problem I do need to write out. So let me flip this paper over, because this starts out a little differently. It says, what percent is 19 out of 20? Okay, now what percentage your x is equal. Now 19 out of 20, we know out of means fraction, so it'd be 19 over 20. So what percent is 19 out of 20? So now to determine this, let me rewrite it because I did that scratch out here. X equals 19 over 20. Now what we would do, we would divide this out and change this answer to a percent. So we could take 20 into 19, we'll put decimal 2 zeros. 20 doesn't go into 19, so that'll be 0. 20 goes into 190 9 times. 9 times 20 is 180. 190 minus 180 is 10. Bring down your 0. 20 goes into 100 5 times. 5 times 20 is 100. So we have 0.95. And as I showed y'all in class, to change a decimal to a percent, you will move the decimal 2 places to the right, and x will be 95%. That will be your percent. So it's 95% is a percent of 19 out of 20. Okay, now let me just take a quick break here. I did tell you all that I will show you all how to change a percent to a decimal and a decimal to a percent. So let's say you had 55%. What you would do is you would look for the decimal in the 55%. You don't see a decimal, but we know that there's always a decimal at the end of a number. So if you're changing a percent to a decimal, you move the decimal 2 places to the left and then drop the percent sign. So it'd be 0.55. Let's try another percent. Let's say 6%. Remember, it's assumed to be a decimal after the 6. You'll move this 2 places to the left. So this would be 0.06. And you drop the percent sign. Now to do the reverse. If we take a decimal, like we took the 0.95. If we take a decimal and change that to a percent, you move the decimal 2 places to the right and put a percent sign at the end. So let's say if we had 0.06, we'll move this decimal 2 places to the right and put a percent sign at the end. And it's possible that you can have 0.065. You move this decimal 2 places to the right, and that'll be 6.5%. So it is possible to have a decimal of a percent. So this is how you convert percent to decimal and decimal to percent. So now let's move on. Problem 5. It says 42 is what percent of 168? So problem 5, 42 is what percent of 168? So 42 would just be 42. Is would be equal. What percent is x? Of means multiplication, and 168 is 168. So we have 42 is equal to x times 168 is just 168x. Now remember, we're trying to find a percentage because it says what percent. So we got to get x by itself. 168 is multiplied to x, so we'll divide each side by 168. So over here we know 168 divided by 168 is 1 times x is x. Okay, now we go here 42 into 168. Now remember, we're trying to get a percent. So we need to go off to the side. We can simplify this. 42 and 168 both has, let's just use, both has 14 in common. 42 divided by 14 is 3. 168 divided by 14 is 12. So actually this could have been simplified by 42. We could simplify 3/12 and that would make 1/4. So 1/4 is equal to x. Now we want to change that 1/4 to a percent. So we would take 4 into 1.00. 4 goes into 1 0 times. 4 goes into 10 twice. 2 times 4 is 8. 10 minus 8 is 2. Bring down your 0. 4 goes into 25 times. 5 times 4 is 20. No remainder. So we add a decimal of 0.25. Now we have to change this decimal to a percent. We know we'll move this 2 places to the right, and it'll be 25% is equal to x. Now we go to problem 6. It says, what percent is 18 out of 600? So number 6, what percent is 18 out of 600? And we know that's dollars. So what percent is your x? Is your equal sign. 18 out of means division. So it's 18 divided by 600, or a fraction. So we have 18 divided by 600. We can simplify both of these by dividing by 6. Both of them have 6 in common. So that's 3 over 100. Now listen. Sometimes you do not need to divide in order to get your decimal, to get your percent. Because the word percent means out of 100. So if you have any number divided by 100, you could just drop the denominator and put a percent sign next to the numerator. So 3% is the same thing as saying 3 out of 100. So this is 3%. So that is your final answer for problem 6. Now I'm going to skip 7 for 1 second. And then I'm going to go to number 8. I'm going to come back to 7. So number 8, it says, what is 125% of $48? So what is x? Is equal. 125% written as a decimal is 1.25, because remember it's assumed to be a decimal at the end of the 5. Move two decimals to the left. Of means multiplication, and $48 is just $48. So now we multiply. Now remember, I tell you to take the longest number, imagine it without the decimal, and then multiply it. So we'll take 1.25 times 48. 8 times 5 is 40. Bring down your 0, carry your 4. 8 times 2 is 16, plus 4 is 20. Bring down your 0, carry your 2. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 2 is 10. Add a 0. 4 times 5 is 20. Put a 0, carry your 2. 4 times 2 is 8, plus 2 is 10. Bring down your 0, carry your 1. 4 times 1 is 4, plus 1 is 5. So when we add this gives us 6,000. But remember, we have to look at the 2 digits behind the decimal. So we have to add 2 digits behind the decimal here. So x is $60. And that is number 8. Now remember, because it was 125%, that is why your answer is larger than what you started with. Because 125% is more than 100% of that number. Okay, so now the only number we haven't done yet is problem number 7. Let's look at number 7. It says find 33 and 1/3% of 51. Okay, now find, let me get another sheet of paper here. So for number 7, it says find 33 and 1/3% of 51. Find, we know, means x equal 33 and 1/3%. Now, here's the issue with this. We know that percent means that if we want to change this to a decimal, that means we would look at the end of the number, move the decimal point. But this is a mixed number, so we have to handle this a little differently. But before we do this, let's bring down the of, which is multiply, and the 51, that's 51. Now let's take care of this 33 and 1/3%. First, we have to change this mixed number to an improper fraction. 33 times 3 is 99, plus 1 is 100. So this would be 100 over 3%. Okay, now 100 over 3% means this is the same as 100 over 3 divided by 100. Because remember, percent means out of 100. So this will equal to 100 over 3 divided by 100 over 1. So 100 over 3 divided by 100 over 1 is equal to 100 over 3 times 1 over 100 when we simplify it. Remember, we have to take the reciprocal. I'm sorry, I didn't mean simplify. We take the reciprocal of the fraction after the division sign. So this will give us 100 over 300. When we simplify this, both of these can be divided by 100. So this will be 1/3. So basically, 33 and 1/3% is 1/3. Let's just leave it as 1/3. And we'll worry about if we need to make it a decimal later. Okay, so we have x is equal to 1/3 times 51, and we could put that 51 over 1. So x is equal to 1 times 51 is 51, 3 times 1 is 3. Now, taking 51 into 3 into 51, 3 goes into 5 once. 1 times 3 is 3. 5 minus 3 is 2. Bring down your 1. 3 times 21 is 7. 7 times 3 is 21. So your answer here is 17. Okay, now, they tell us for problems 9 through 16, we can use a calculator. But it also tells us for problems 17 through 21, we can use a calculator. So basically, for the rest of this exercise, we would be using a calculator. Now, I showed you extensively how to write out these problems when you read them. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to bring the calculator out. And then after I bring the calculator out, I'm going to tell you what you should have wrote, what should be written. So let me bring the calculator out. Now you all have this in your notes about pulling up the calculator. Okay, so now number 9, we had 240 is what percent of 120? So we know 240 is just 240. Let me see something here. Maybe I can move this and give you all a little bit of some of the notes here. Okay, yes, it looks like I'm able to do that. So I'm going to write out the formula for number 9. So you have 240 is equal, what percent is x, of is multiplication, and 120 is 120. So this is your equation. So this would be 240 is equal to x times 120, which is 120x. Now remember, we're trying to get x by itself. So we'll divide each side by 120. And then these 120s will simplify out to 1 times x is x. Now you could take 240. Oh. Okay, you could take 240 divided by 120. And that gives us 2. But listen, our question says what percent? So we need to change this this whole number to a percent. So now, if you look here at this 2, remember I showed you all how to change a decimal to a percent. It's assumed to be a decimal behind this 2. So you have to move this decimal 2 places to the right. So that will give you 200% is equal to x. So that is your answer, because you notice 240 is larger than 120, so it has to be over, at least over 100%, but this time it's 200%. Okay, now 10. It says, what percent is 3 out of 60? So what percent is x? Is equal. 3 out of 60, that's a fraction. That'll be 3 over 60, because that's 3 out of 60. So they want to know what percent is this. So we'll take 3 divided by 60. Press enter. And you notice we have 0.05. We have to move this decimal 2 places to the right and put a percent sign at the end. So x is 5%. Okay, now I'm going to skip a little bit. Let me do number 12 because I see it has a fraction. It says find. It says find 8.5% of 46. Find, we know is x equals 8.5%. Now we can do this one of 2 ways. Since we know 1/2, if you look here, 1/2 is 0.5. So really this is 8.5%. So this would be 8.5%, and we'll correct this later. Of is multiplication, and $46 is just $46. So x is equal to 8.5%. We'll move this decimal 2 places to the left. So it'd be 0.085 times $46. Now we will multiply. Put this in your calculator. You would take the 0.085 times 46. So it's 3.91. So that is 8.5% of $46. So it's $3.91. Okay, now the next problem, number 13. It says 65 cents is what percent of $10? So 13, you have 0.65 equal is, which is equal, what percent is x? Of is multiplication, and $10 is just $10. So now we need to, so we have 0.65 is equal to 10.00x. We divide each side by the $10. And on the right side, we'll have x. On the left side, we'll put this in our calculator. We have 0.65 divided by, now we know 10.00 is just 10, but I'll put the 0.00. You don't have to. Press enter. So that would give us 0.065. But remember, initially in the problem, they want to know what percent is this. So we have to move this decimal 2 places to the right and the 6.5% is equal to x. Now, our last problem that I want to do from 9 through 16 is 16. Okay, so I'm going to need to move this over just slightly. It says find 66 2/3% of 108. So the word find is x equal. This is 14. So we got x equals. All right, so 66 2/3%, they tell us that this is equal to 2/3. So we can replace the 66 2/3 with just 2/3. Of means multiplication, and 108 is just 108. So x is 2/3 times 108. Now let me move this back over to give a little bit more space. Okay, so now we will put 2/3, we'll do a parenthesis. You could go 2 divided by 3, or you know what, wait a minute, I forgot we're using this calculator. You can hit the N over D and press 2, press the down arrow 3, then press the right arrow, and then times 108. And that gives us 72. So x is 72. Oh, this is problem 16. I don't know why I wrote 14, but this is 16. Okay, now we move on. Let's move on to problem. I'm going to do a few of these problems here. Let me do problem 18. Douglas received a 6%, well, first it says choose the one best answer to each question. You may use your calculator. It says Pat called 120, 18, skipping to 18. Douglas received a 6% raise. If his old monthly salary was $22.50, what is his monthly salary now? Hint, find the amount of the raise, then add the raise to the previous monthly salary. Okay, so here's the thing with this. It says Douglas received a 6% raise. So that means he got 6% more than what his old salary was. So basically, I'm going to show you all this here. And you will have to use what I call some of your everyday life skills to solve this problem. Okay, first of all, Douglas started out making $2,250. Now we want to add his raise to the $2,250. So you would add $2,250 times 0.06, because you want his current salary plus 6% of his current salary. And that would equal to some unknown value. So let's go through it. But before I do 18, let's reflect back on what you already know. Let's say that you were going shopping for a shirt. And I'm going to use some of this, a little corner here. Now this is just a side note to give you a better understanding of 18. Say the shirt costs $10. Okay. You know that in Michigan we pay 6% sales tax. So we know when you purchase a $10 shirt, let me use this calculator. We know when you purchase a $10 shirt, it's $10, and then they will multiply the 6% sales tax. Let's see. I don't know why it skips like this sometimes. Okay. Oh, did it again. Okay. So we multiply that by the 6% sales tax. So we know this is 60 cents. But you know you still got to add on the original $10 you paid. So you would pay $10.60 for the shirt. Now, you're basically doing the same thing we have here. You have your $10. and you want to add 6% of the $10. Yeah, sorry about that. I don't know why it's doing the double thing here. All right. So you add $10 plus $10 times the 6% sales tax. And you notice here when you press enter, it gives you the exact same thing. So taking that knowledge, we're going to apply it to 18. So we'll take our $2,250 salary, and we're going to add the 6% of the $2,250 salary. So that gives you $2,385. That is going to be the new salary. Now remember, they asked us what the new salary is. They didn't ask us what the increase was. So that's why it's B. Okay, now we're going to skip to problem 20. It says the following advertisement for sporting goods appeared in a newspaper. What percent of the original price is the sales price? Okay, now it says what percent. We don't know that. So let's go through and write this for problem 20. So for problem 20, what percent is X? And it's equal to. So we have what percent is X of. Oh, you know what? Let me rewrite this. So what percent is X of means multiplication. The original price, they said the original price was $65. What percent of the original price is, mean equal, the sale price. The sale price is $45.50. So we have what percent of the original price is the sales price. So X times 65 is 65X. Is equal to $45.50. We divide each side by 65. And then we will have, I'm going to write this over here, X is equal to, so we have to put this in our calculator. Let me move the calculator over here. Clear this out. So we have 4550 divided by 65, and that gives 0.7. Now remember, they want to know the percent, so we have to move this decimal 2 places to the right and add a percent sign. So X would be 70%. So according to this here, 70% is D. So your answer is D. All right, now, when we look here at this last problem, it says Lydia pays $3 sales tax on a $50 purchase. Which of the following expressions could be used to find the sales tax rate in her state? Okay, so basically, we would have to do this. We're trying to find sales tax. So it said that she paid $3 in sales tax. So we want to know, so first of all, $3 would be by itself because we know how much the sales tax is. So the sales tax is $3. She made that on a $50 purchase. She paid that on a $50 purchase. So basically what they're asking us is, what percent of $50 would give us $3? So with that being said, we have $3 is equal to $50 times X. X would be our what percent. All right. Now we would divide each side by 50. So we would have $3 over $50 is equal to X. Now if you notice, we have nothing here that has $3 over $50. We do have 3 times 100 over 50, but we don't have just just regular $3 over $50. Now the reason being is, since X is what percent, we could actually, instead of just leaving it as X, we could put it as X over 100. Because remember, percent means over 100. So we could put X over 100, and that would be our X percent. So we still haven't changed anything. Now, to get rid of this 100 off of the X is divided by 100. So we will multiply each side by 100. So in your numerator, you will have $3 times 100 all over $50. And that would equal X. So your answer would be A. And that basically completes this first part of chapter 3, lesson 3. And we are done.